All right. Good evening, everybody.
Hello.
Can I just get a quick check to make sure that somebody online can hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you, William. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. We had some technical issues with the Zoom and multiple meetings happening at the same time in the building. Um, so without further ado, I am going to call the special meeting of the Willington School Building Committee to order. It is February 2nd, 2026 at 7:51 p.m. Members present are myself, James Marshall, Adam Salonis, Adam Brewer, Jeremy Brothers, and Grosjean, Bill Stevens, and we have Liliana Borelli online. And
I did see Sam's.
I did see Sam's.
Yeah.
can you minimize that? Sam, are you online? You could just unmute and say hi, make sure that we hear you.
I was just gonna say, she's giving him a bath or putting him in bed.
Yeah, when I ask her to unmute. Sam, can you hear us?
Yeah, sorry, I was having a hard time finding the button. Yes, I can hear you.
No worries. Thank you for your patience. We also have Lisa Eden. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. I'm right here.
Can you just scroll down on that list? Lisa, make sure we don't have. Sorry, I know you're stuck in a corner now.
No, I'm afraid to touch it.
All right, that seems to be it for members. So thank you very much, everybody. All right, meetings will call to order. First up on the list is chair status report. I just kept this on here as a brief update to fill you in on where we stand on a variety of items over the past week. First off, yes, we're all set, Mike. Thank you. The RFQ fee for architectural and engineering services that we moved yesterday has been posted. I believe I found out today there may have been an error in the posting on the state's bid site, being a duplicate of the OPM services RFQ. So that I know the selectmen's office is working to resolve that today. So that is live. The RFQ is on the school building committee's website, the town page, so that is available at least in that forum for now. The OPM services we have, as we're subject for tonight, we are discussing responses to responding questions. Those will be posted tomorrow, assuming that we have suitable answers today. Should. And then that process will continue forward. The website, the numerous items on the IT side. I do have access now to the school building committee's email address. You've got one email asking about where how to find the posting for OPM services. Which I respond to us and send them to our website. As more come in, I have making sure that those are all distributed in some form or fashion, but we're not getting any hits on it just yet. The mailer has been ordered from the printer. We are expecting delivery of that sometime this week. And then it will be out to the post office for mailing to residents here in town. So that is moving along. Thank you all for your efforts in expediting the comments on that mailer. So we'll get that out. And as soon as it goes out, we'll probably start working on a second one. That's the way things work. As far as email addresses, that is still in process in the selectmen's office as well. Through Novus, to the best of my understanding. As is the transition of the documents from the Board of Ed posting on the town's website. Last I heard from Mike and the selectmen, that was supposed to be working through it. They are having a transition, with Shannon leaving after this week. So I think that is just a little behind where
We did talk about it today.
you are.
I happened to be staying there. We did talk about it.
Yeah, she said that was in the works today, amongst, I'm sure, 20 other fires. So those processes are moving. We're trying to make them happen as quickly as possible. And I'll continue to keep you updated as we get that
Jim,
through.
is that related to Outlook? I got an email to set up Outlook.
So that was for me.
We all weren't supposed to get that?
No. So what I did, I created an email group for the
Okay.
committee so that. So I got tired of hunting for people's email addresses. So
Okay.
you've all been invited to a school building committee outlook group, essentially. It's, I represent you to both now. It's similar to what we did, so but you could see it and what the prior school did. It's just you're all,
Okay.
holding up. That is. I think that's everything I have for now. We'll talk more next week. As part of our regular meeting, if there's any further updates, I will keep you all posted. But, and thank you very much, everybody, for making this meeting work. As I said, the meeting here, moving on to item 3, the RFP for owner's project manager services. We had a question deadline on last Thursday. We had numerous questions come in, which is great. It's a lot of activity. And we need to develop responses and issue them, post those answers publicly. As mentioned, the schedule outlined in our those responses will be posted by tomorrow, in an effort to keep things moving. So what I will say is, let's I'd rather keep these generic and go through question by question rather than, identity, just keep you all over the playing field. They are, as all of these questions, over the weekend, you should have received it yesterday evening, with an assist by Adam. I took a stab at drafting an addendum or initial responses so that we had something to work from, in an effort to try to make this an efficient discussion today, so that we're not drafting and writing on the fly during discussion. So you have that in front of you. The questions are in the order they were received. There are 15 in total, some are duplicates. And if it's okay by you, if you want to go through really briefly one at a time, we can identify if anybody has any comments. I did receive some comments from Phil via email today. But we can go over as we go, but. Sound good? All right. Question number 1. Will be required of the selected owner's project manager to manage, write the RFQ and issue them on behalf of Willington, the solicitation of the other town consultants, architect, construction manager, commission agent, etc. The short answer is yes, and there's just a brief description in there noting that we did issue one for architect, one engineering services, but a supplemental may be required down the line. Phil, you had a comment on that, basically noting, I'm sorry, I'm trying to bring it up.
Will they write it or will they write it or will we write it and they will provide?
Well, the question asked was to manage and write the RFQ and then issue a bid application. So I said, yes, that is there. But we can add further clarification if you think it's needed, but.
For our guidance. Also, they're gonna write it, we'll review it and come back with comments and then it'll be distributed.
Yeah,
Well, review and approve.
yes, with our guidance. That approved, all right?
Yes, yeah, that's fine.
Or to do this tomorrow time. All right, any further questions, comments on that one? For the members online, feel free to chime in. or just say something, because I'm not always looking at the screen, and I don't want to miss you. All right, question 2 is a question about sharing our legislation Willington received. That is the bill. Bill sent or recommended including the link to that bill, and I will do that without objection. Pull out the house site.
Had a couple little, things.
Sure.
On the very last line, that includes space for early childhood. I don't know that it's care. I would
That's-
almost delete the word care.
That is straight from the legislation. I did check.
Oh, that's the legislation. Then keep it in there. Okay, and I would add special to education.
No,
It's not.
it's straight from legislation. I did the same thing.
Okay. Alrighty. I'm so proud of myself for finding.
Yeah, no, that-
Yeah.
That was, I pulled that straight
It's
through. I
cool.
just noted it's of interest to look at, not specific to that particular, that's a 15% additional reimbursement applied to the whole project for early childhood care. So I will include the link to that House bill and identify page numbers in addition to just the section that are specific ones. And I do have those links. I will share those with you guys as well. You have something up on your own. Clearly,
Yeah, I did
So-
notice something on there. It says in the elementary school building project. Does it qualify if we have middle school in there as well?
yes.
Okay, just. Check.
So at least to the best of my understanding, there's also, not just legislation, there's also the analysis text. I'll send you guys that as well. Basically shows. Clarity.
It's technically it is still.
Yeah, it's still part of an elementary, part of the. Okay, so 2, I will make those comments. Was a profession, item number 3, was a professional cost estimate completed? If so, when was it completed? So the simple answer to this is no, we have not, because we haven't defined specific projects as part of this committee yet. With that said, Bill, I did have a comment here from you. Should we say more? We have cost estimates. We're asking for new, essentially, as a part of other solicitations, not just this one. I'm not even sure. And we can make a general comment saying prior studies, but for the purposes of this, I'm trying to keep it simple. Because we don't have a project plan yet, so we don't have an estimate for this project. It'll be a part of our scope coming months.
And if it was completed, it's probably way outdated at this.
Yes.
That's the other concern. I don't want to
It
identify.
is, but is that what they're asking?
Yeah, cost estimate for what?
Is that cost per square foot for a school?
That's the other concern is I don't necessarily want to get hung up or have them base budgets on values that are not defined yet or that maybe they.
As much as sense.
No.
Saying no.
I can't not speak to it.
Just
As-
a little bit.
Okay, over the past year, when we were looking at the cost of renovations.
Yeah.
We did have several proposals and some of them were projects similar to what we've been talking about, so. But if we want to start fresh.
And where did these estimates come from? Were they from professional construction manager? Were they
Yes.
from
They're from our
architecture?
more back and forth, but so.
We had hired them.
Oh, and they were done what?
this past year.
2025?
Yeah, they're
The last
not,
So they've got us.
Would you like to look?
they
at
do, but they may not be clear for they may not be of the accurate building area, like I don't know how current that is. Does it align with the current of the spec that's issued? Yes, okay. I mean, we can make reference to it, the prior study work, they both more bad.
I mean,
that
you can
website.
simply say, yes, there are previous ones,
Previous.
but they're outdated, and we would like the OPM to identify a current cost estimate, because you and I both know in the last 6 months, things continue to go up.
Yeah, and it may not align to the scope of the project either.
Correct.
Take a basis of design, you really, that's when you're really gonna start to know where you're headed for.
Yeah, I want to be careful, not stating that the committee is that the project is fine yet, because we're defining all different things that we're entertaining. Some weren't done previously, but.
I'd say there's nothing current that would apply to the work of this, the new SBC.
It's nothing that completely matches the scope.
I think our purpose was to compare making renovations to what it would look like to build or renovate. So it was for comparison for renovations, correct? Though? Was that, yeah.
So I think if they do have some data, they can pull from, would help.
All right, so while prior studies have been performed by the Willington Board of Education, nothing current has been completed by the school building committee. It is the expectation that.
An in-depth analysis will be required.
That an in-depth, yeah, the next response kind of goes into that, yeah, kind of goes into this. Well, which is why I tried to keep it very simple initially, but, all right, I'll workshop that, basically noting prior studies have been performed by the Willington Board of Education that may be available as a reference, but nothing current has been provided by this.
Sounds good.
Yeah, and things need to be up
All right,
there.
yep.
Yeah.
Partner.
It was comparing repair, not renovation, but repairs.
We'll get all of it.
They can look at it. And to be honest with you, every OPM that's looking at this, if they haven't done a deep dive on that website by now, or,
They're missing
how
out.
much they're,
We had a whole.
Should you, you're gonna
presentation
attach it to
on
this when you send it off?
I was not.
Maybe a
link on our
request
website.
for information from us probably. And then share it that
I
way.
can just note that it's available on school building website.
There you go. Prior studies, information. And
Right.
See, yes, it's there. See.
hopefully the links will be fixed.
Now, so that I understand, I gotta go back and just check the wording on that. This. All right, the provisional costs, we're all set with question 3, right? Great, beautiful. Question 4. If basically a follow-up to that, if it's not completed, will the building committee be requiring the OPM to provide estimating services? We did carry this as a scoping item, so the response basically states, I'm not gonna read it verbatim, we carried it as requested separate architectural engineering services. RFP. And we're asking the OPM to incorporate that data into project budgets.
that makes sense because your architectural engineering services are going to be developing your project.
So we're asking them to basically incorporate that work, assist us incorporate that work, the comprehensive budgets. We did the RFQ for OPM services does have specific items related to budgeting. It's suggested, we're developing that, so I did reference them to those specific goals and scope as well. All right. I think we're good on 4. The next one, item 5, relates to the discrepancy between the educational specifications and the 519 of the Prada study. We talked about this in the last meeting. I raised it as the concern again. Alignment. What we will do basically response saying that following completion of the ed spec, that prior the Prada study came back, noted the 500 figure, that's what the OPM, the RFQ is referencing. And that the board of ed is in the process. School committee is evaluating how to reconcile that figure with the programmatic fund.
We have an estimate for what to spend.
We can, I don't have one now.
But it would be useful for them to know that.
What was the question?
We have an estimate when that's expected to have his specs realigned.
I think it's an operating, I think honestly, we're gonna need their consultants input to help align that will be architectural.
If it will be aligned.
If it needs to be aligned. All right. What I will do, I am going to attach the product. Enrollment projections, this, just as a dot something that they have it as well. Make sense?
Response is accurate.
All right. Oh. 6. Relates to the possibility question about the ed specs relating to possibility of renewable energy sources. Asking whether those have been incorporated into any process and have an current estimate. It just notes in the response, they haven't been completed. But we're expecting the integration of renewable alternative energy sources to be considered in any project development. So it's subject to further exploration, just not captured yet. We don't have an estimate. All right. Next one is my fault in adjusting dates when we had an unknown meeting date at the time for our regular meetings. Trying to hit our calendar. I missed a Tuesday or Thursday at the due date, so the submission due date is confirmed. It's Tuesday, February 10th, 2026 by 2 p.m. Item 8, references were made to a renovation addition project, which is not described in the RFP. Is a renovation addition project being considered, and if so, will the RFP be amended to include that option? I took a stab at the response saying several options for the creation of a consolidated school project to be explored and considered, including a renovation addition project. And I listed some of the options we discussed that we started to brainstorm at our last meeting. That include new buildings on mall site, new building sites to determine, renovation addition on mall site. And that we're asking the OPM to assist us developing these options to allow the town to make an informed decision on. Back, Richard. And any thoughts, comments? Good. Okay. The next one is a kind of question about schedule, question 9. Asking if there's an alternate schedule for project completion for a phase for a renovation project. And I basically told them to keep everybody on the same page. Use the preliminary schedule outlines in our RFP for all for the phases of your fee, and should a project need an alternative completion date, we can address that. We don't know what we're moving ahead with, so I don't want to have a price multiple different options.
Is this post-referendum? I was confused by this one.
It is, what they're saying is a phase, they're trying to base, we asked them for,
Is it beyond law?
correct, they'd be on longer. They expect that, phase renovation, if it's an extra year, that's an additional year of their services. You don't know that yet. So in the interest of setting a defined time frame for their scope of work, we provided what was included here in the RFQ. Sorry, I don't know what the date was off the top of my head. We're just asking them that, assume that is the anticipated duration, which was a reasonable duration for a major project, and if they'll.
You get a basis on their fee off of their
Correct, that's the goal, is to get as close to a reconcilable lines go from everybody, but they're all assuming the same baseline.
If it did take longer, we would extend out of the minute.
It would be biased on all that, that's a part of that process.
It's stated that.
which we would understand the development of the documents of the plans, the different options that you can look at, you can understand, how long each building or renovation would take. However, we move forward. We'll base that in construction, so.
All right. Item 10, asks if the renovation project, I think they're. On this one, well, yeah. This asks if a renovation project is considered as a renovated human analysis been completed following the AS form 3520. The answer is no. This is another one of those questions that we can go back, the Board of Ed has done, I can basically regurgitate the answer that workshop a little while ago, the fire studies. This is not this process yet.
When is this filled out in the process? Should be.
It will only be filled out if no renovated is new is what, that'll be part of the grant application preparation for its referendum.
Only if.
If the renovated new option is the one that's open. Or addition renovation. So if everybody, if we want to modify that, just basically saying something similar to the last one that has not been completed, but you can reference prior documentation study or for the board of ed or historical, something along those lines.
And they just did that in school.
I think that's honestly, everybody else said about the numbers.
No, I think it's both in the same boat as that up front.
Yeah, right. Yep. The next one is another question about the enrollment projection, and I just referred to the prior response. It's essentially. Yep. Question 12. Schedule included in the RFP. Asking when, we're basically asking us to clarify if we anticipate a referendum, prior to June 30th, 2026. And yes, that's correct. Bill, I see
I did have one question on that answer.
Sure.
The answer is correct, but I didn't, because of the fact that technically we could have, as long as the grant application is submitted in time, we could do the referendum afterwards, do the referendum in July or whatever. Is that enough of a technical difference that we care about it? Or we're just basically speaking to the intent?
So. Let me reread the question just so I'm.
The intent of the committee is to try and have an application in by the end of June.
Correct.
Right, yes.
Yeah.
The referendum should be
The
prior.
referendum may or may not occur by that time.
Right.
And that's the reality of it.
Will we put an application in for only one project?
Right.
And will we
Yes.
want input from the community
You need that.
about which project we want to put forward? So wouldn't we need to have the referendum to get our, or a survey or something, so that we know how the community.
So, well, yeah, all of that would happen before referendum anyway.
Right.
It's just, maybe I'm worrying too much about the detail about it. I think that the question was, is that the intent of the committee? That is the intent of the committee, so it's technically correct.
Yeah.
It's not an absolute guarantee. So I think the answer's right. I'm thinking too far.
No, I mean, there is. I think the simple answer is probably the best one, is that the intent is to try to get the
Yep.
approval prior to grant.
Yeah, so let's leave it as it is. Yeah.
If there is probably some, when we have consultants on board with the professional expertise to. Really understand where. If there's, I don't want to say flexibility, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If the grant application process affords some opportunity for. Give and take movement call for sequencing of events, that would be advantageous to Willington. We will understand their recommendations and act accordingly, but the intent is. Successful grant application. Yeah, with.
How's it impact? I was trying to figure out how that question impacts their proposal and their pricing. I couldn't, what do you got?
Workload.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. It's workload. They're like,
They're trying to figure.
basically what they're saying is, you're expecting us to get all this done by June? They're not actually saying, is it gonna go longer, we'll have to charge them more. They're trying to figure out if they want, they have to figure out their staff.
Right, because they need resources.
But
They
your
need
work-
staffing stuff on the
Yeah.
project.
What changes?
How many people you need to have to do the work?
But you still have to put an application in by June, no matter which app.
Yes, they would
Yes,
just verify.
Yeah, they're gonna
that-
bid it or they're not gonna bid it.
Yeah.
based on their workload. If they have 7 projects, they're gonna whack it a little harder. so
Right,
not
but
to
their
get the
question is
job.
about the referendum, not about. Is the intent of the committee to have a referendum? The referendum does not impact their workload. That's what I don't believe it does.
No, but the, having to have the stuff for the,
June 26th
June.
deadline.
for the application to be in does.
I suspect
And
it
it-
might be.
Agree with that.
I suspect it might be so that they can formulate a response to us as part of the qualification package, saying they understand our
Timeline.
timeline.
And then- okay.
Because part of this was understanding how they will adapt. It's part of their qualifications requests, asking how they will work with Willing.
Yeah, because if we're coming to referendum, they know that they're gonna have their people ready, maybe with glossy poster boards, presentations, and all that kind
Right,
of stuff.
well, but they have to get
Yeah,
ready.
I think that is probably, from my experience, it's probably more speaking
I would
to how they're responsive to us and our needs and their qualifications. Rather than their. That's my best guess, but,
So this is correct, it's a straightforward answer.
sometimes that's
What is the intent?
That's the best way of doing it. And quite frankly, so in working these up, I don't see just as a general note. When I get, for architectural and engineering projects that I go after, quite frankly, I'll get a no or a yes or, a lot back. And I don't believe that's necessarily most effective for fishing because it doesn't help us scope. And so, tried to be as concise and clear in providing direction so that they had some guidance without going overboard. But I think that would be more than no, unless it was a simple question. All right, question 13. That is, it starts as a note of warning that it costs design and oversight services prior to town funding approval will not be reimbursed by the state. We're aware of that. They asked to please clarify the anticipated schedule for town funding approval of the selection option. It's a different way of stating. Yeah, the prior. We basically just state that again. So prior to June 30th. 26, when we're hoping to get town funding approval for the selected option. And that is to be coordinated by the OPM. Their assistant or coordinated with the OPM's assistance of that actual fund. Makes sense?
I have a question,
Yeah, go for it, Sam.
not in regards to what you're talking about, but I'm just randomly thinking and I don't have it in front of me right now. Did we request a bond?
That's an excellent question. I don't believe we did. No, correct? There.
Did we want to?
We should take that as a separate item about the contractual. I'll have to look back at what we reviewed downstairs with the business office and all that, because when we get to like final awarding, we have to work out we're gonna get language from we're gonna pick somebody, we're gonna select someone, they're gonna send their contract language. We're gonna make comments on what we like or don't like, and we'll have to see. I'll have to check with the finance office on where we were on that.
Yeah, I have to rely on. Yeah.
Yeah, just because I know sometimes, at least for like mechanical contractors, which is where my experience lies, is it's part of the bid documents. You'll have like a 3% of the bond or something like that. Because then what I was gonna contribute to that was, I know that last meeting we said we weren't gonna have a public opening. But I didn't know, and I'm not familiar if it's kind of like the same thing with a construction manager, but like sometimes it's nice not just for like competitive numbers in the field, but for the different people who are applying for this opportunity to kind of see what everyone else's numbers are, and then they'd also need to provide that for bonding if they would have to have a bond for the bid. You know what I'm trying to say?
I do. So in my experience, Sam, bonding isn't typically applied to professional services as it is to a construction contract. And these are not construction contracts. These are professional services agreements. So
Okay.
that's just been that's been my experience. Again, we'll rely on the review of the financial office and selectmen's office as to whether or not
Yeah,
those are-
that makes sense. I wasn't sure because I didn't know if I'm trying to think of the wording. I didn't know if it was because it was kind of like a promissory of certain, you know what I mean? Like we're going to be paying them for a project, right? Or are we paying them? Is this going to be a lump sum thing or is this an hourly thing with a retainer? Or I'm not quite sure how that part works. I guess that was.
We did ask them for lump sums.
Okay.
Yeah, well, we asked them for not to exceed fees.
Right.
So the other thing to note, Sam, related to the fee proposals, this is a qualifications-based ranking first. So
Yeah.
separate sealed envelope. So we're really ranking based on qualifications, and then price is our secondary evaluation. Which is why, I'd argue that a public opening is almost less warranted, to a degree.
Well.
Okay,
and
that makes sense.
for clarification, it's not gonna be behind closed doors. either.
Yeah, I agree.
The opening is gonna be done with witnesses and
You just don't.
it'll be above board. We're just not having a public meeting
Correct.
format.
That was my expectation.
Yeah, yep.
My understanding is that we will use our 100,000 to pay for this person at this time to get the application in. And then perhaps the managers that take us through the project will be bonded, would be my guess. As part
Construction
of
managers?
The building managers, the ones who, once we get our grant in and we're approved and we start building, my guess is that those people will be part of the bond.
Construction manager should be bond.
Yes.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say. Thank you.
Yeah, that's typical construction, they have construction
But
contract.
I think for this, what we're asking for now will be part of our 100,000. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not
Well-
talking about, she doesn't understand the type of bond I'm talking about. I'm talking about
Yeah, and Samantha's talking about a performance bond
Oh.
that assures they're gonna do the job the way we want them to. And if they don't, we have an ability to withdraw from the bond. We've answered it. I think we can. I think we've answered it for the moment. When we get to contracting for construction services, there will be a new conversation, which includes PERMA, which I've already had a conversation with. The town is going to be adding insurance coverage through PERMA for builder's risk to protect the town also.
Yeah, and quite frankly, the OPM that we on board will be assisting us in figuring out
Yes,
these requirements as well as things. Liliana, I thought I saw your hand up.
No, that's okay.
Sorry, I didn't want to miss you.
No, I'm good.
Okay. Where were we? All right, so back at 14. Asking if a new site's been identified or whether the OPM is going to need to assist. The answer is no, we have not, but there has been, again, there's historical data that we are using as the launching point as the basis for our further explorations of our history. Does that make sense to everybody? Right. All right. And, sorry, I have one open. 15. So I had actually flagged this in my initial drafting of this, as a, do we really want to define the number of days a week? So the answer is we're asking them. So the question is, provide services on site as required and up to 3 days per week during night progress phases. They're asking us to define night progress phases. I told them, or the response here is respondents should base their proposals on their professional experience with project of similar size scope and complexity.
Should be 3 days a week. It's a high paced project.
Yeah.
That's what we want. We want so many eyes and ears for the town at all times. It would be full shifts, 3 full shifts.
Yeah, so 3 days. I was on site for a day. I showed up, shook hands, everybody and left. I've seen.
Well, they're gonna develop reports.
I've
Heard
seen
that
it
twice.
before.
Yeah, they gotta develop reports and send them over. We need to see, they're gonna have, looking at construction progress, safety, all that stuff, and send us reports every time to that, every day.
Yep.
Yeah.
Whether it's a weekly report, dated timestamp photos.
I think minimum hours on site for sure. I think it's.
So the way it's phrased, or the way we phrased it, it'll be challenging given that we don't have a project, we don't have a good day.
Right.
Trying to go identify what are gonna be high, what are gonna be high peak phases, high progress phases. It's really gonna be subject to much more project development and
Construction schedules.
Yeah. Construction standards, so.
And it's gonna vary during the project even, assuming everything goes through, you get approved, we're all familiar, even people who haven't done construction before, with things not going the way they were planned. And you all of a sudden have a time in the project where you weren't expecting it to be needing extra supervision or whatever.
For instance, here,
That's the
say
nature
there
of
was a
the
new
beast.
plan and they were clearing, the guy stuck by once a week, there's not much to see, but if you're in the middle of.
Now, all of a sudden you have to
NDP
feed water,
installations,
if you're in the middle of excavation, you have to feed water, now it's a change.
Right.
Yeah, I think you should say with specific times or specific sections identified by the board that they will require on the site to be identified later.
I think it's, yeah, to be identified later.
Yeah, but I don't think we should leave it up completely to them when they can manage it. So I mean, to have their input, yes, absolutely, but I think we need to have the ability to specify particular phases of projects identified at a later time by us that we.
Because we don't know what the project is yet.
Right.
But they're gonna bill you for 5 days a week then, and you're gonna double, keep shaking your head, yeah. This is a conversation that came up with the OPMs in the past, saying you want somebody on site 5 days a week, it's gonna cost you way, way more money. So if you got a rate that was how much per day as a separate thing, you could, so we said we want 4 days, we're gonna pay for 4 days, so what does a day cost? And you could then justify a day for us is considered to be 8 hours. Right? So if you set it that way, that might get the rate that you're looking for without having but it might fall outside of your total cost.
So we do ask them for hourly rates as a part of their fee proposal. What I can ask them for is we provide as a supplemental, breakout of their costs for on site for when they have on site services. Something along those lines.
It just allows you to go,
Yeah.
we need 5 right now.
Helps
Next
budget.
week, we need, right,
Right,
You gotta
maybe next
figure out
week
what
we
that
need
is.
none.
right, that's the point.
Yes, so supplement, I think we need the ability to look at something.
And know what the cost is gonna be if we add more days.
Yes.
Right.
I mean, and there will be we will respond to their, whatever their proposals are, right? And we'll have qualifications and all that, so we will have opportunities to work these details out before awarding.
So we can do one of 2 ways. We can ask them to, as part of their fee proposals, outline what their fee captured. Right, in this way of doing it, it's just ask them, okay, here's what you've assumed on site, or we can. I think we need to ask that, period.
Yeah, I think your proposed answer is still correct. You could just say, after you say the part about their professional experience, you could say, in the fee proposal, also provide, however you want to word the right thing, what the.
As a component of your fee proposal, please include, description of your anticipated on-site investment capture expense, have something along those lines. Again, I'm not gonna write this right,
yeah.
but you get what I'm saying.
Do you want a daily rate or an hourly rate, something specific like that?
I think what's important for us to know. The daily rate is not, I don't wanna get to the point where we're nickel and diming. I think what we wanna understand is what they base their fee structure on for that.
Right, they can send us a breakout.
So that we understand. And that they can use their professional experience to propose a level of service that they feel is appropriate, but we can understand what that is, how that's structured.
That's right.
So I will-
Costs in the past have come in, it's like $225 an hour for a senior level person, or you get a junior level person for 150. That matters.
I'll just ask them to elaborate as part of their bid, to provide clarification as to what they're being proposed. Increasing service.
But also clarify during the interview process. If you had a question about it.
Yeah, that'll be a part of our, we'll have a scoping. And the intent we. Our response that we feel. It's on the most qualified. So that. I think that rips through just about all. Good job. Thank you, everybody. I just realized I wrote that on Harvard. Sorry, bear with me 1 second while I button up my notes here. All right, so I will. Those edits are fairly straightforward and minor for all of 3 questions, excuse me. Just basically referring back to the prior. 30 more button work that up to your question, and that last is done up. So what I will do is. Mike, do we have a process for busting this? It's not gonna get convoluted.
Yeah, so we're gonna work on it again tomorrow. We reached out to the, state website people and trying to unravel why it's trying to combine the 2 postings.
Okay.
And, so that we're hoping they're gonna answer by the morning
Okay.
on how to fix that. And when we have that conversation, we will ask how to post the answers to questions properly. And then
Well, I believe if
we can also communicate directly back to the questioners, right? We would send the same list to all questioners.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, it says. Yeah, we push them right to the school building committee website for addenda, so I'm just gonna post that on the school building committee page.
Yep.
And that'll at least be responsive to the specific schedule in the RFP,
Okay.
what happens on the state.
And you received all of those questions through email to the school building committee page, right? I mean, email.
Through email, for the
Yeah.
directions and this.
So you can answer back. The compiled list goes to everyone, doesn't matter who asked which questions,
So
right?
so it'll be posted for the script. We basically said we're gonna post as an addendum on the website, which we will do, and I will just respond to the proposers through there.
Yeah, that they are on the website, right?
This has been posted. Thank you for your interest in it.
Yeah, yes, and we will fight with the web portal. The contracting portal at DAS and try to get it straight. It is rough.
I know.
It is rough.
That is something outside that goes to your. Your side of the aisle. All right, any further comments, questions? Beautiful, short and sweet. So with that said, I don't know forward, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second,
Second.
second by Ann. All right, all those in favor, say aye, wave to the cameras.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for your patience online.
Oh, good night.
Good night.